Thank you so much for joining me today at Everyday Yoga. My name is Christine, and this chair yoga sequence is especially for people who have hip or knee issues. I'm not talking about tight hips, I'm talking about hip bursitis, hip replacement surgery or knee replacement surgery that you might be recovering from and you're just now getting mobile again, or maybe you're getting ready to have some sort of surgery and those areas are tender. So we're going to be very mindful of those, and we're going to strive to strengthen the ankles, the feet, the ligaments, ligaments and the tendons, so that we can find support from within to aid us on our journey to wellness. So please find a nice, safe, and sturdy chair, and I will meet you there. So now that you've found yourself a sturdy seat, please go ahead and find yourself either a block or a little firm pillow, or maybe a box of Kleenex, something around this size-ish. Maybe a paperback book might work well. We're going to have our feet hip distance apart, and we're going to use the block to help keep that distance, as well as to help engage the hips and the knees and the ankles in a way that does not put any pressure or weight on them. So the block can be here between the thighs so that it's not putting any pressure directly on the knees themselves. You can be squeezing as hard as you like, really, but more as hard as feels good in your body. The thing is, though, you don't really have to squeeze hard. You just need to squeeze enough to keep the block in place, or whatever prop that you might be using today. So go ahead and look down at your feet. You might be wearing socks, that's cool. Maybe not shoes. If you can get away from it, take your shoes off. But if you want to keep your shoes on, you can totally do that too. But bare feet could be optimal just for taking stock of what you have here. Now, I've always kind of had a funky relationship with my feet because somehow or another I managed to be just shy of 5 feet 2 inches tall, and yet I wear I hate to say it, 9.5 wide or even a size 10 women's shoe. So I believe I probably should be 5'8" based on that. So I'm not sure what happened along the way, but here we are. I did get up my very first try on a surfboard though, so I think it's all about this low center of gravity thing that I've got going on. But anyway, my feet got me here. They got me to this chair, they got me to this practice, they got me to 53 years old. So I'm gonna just look down at them and be grateful for them. They're in good working order. None of the bones are crooked. I don't have any bunions. But even if I did, I'll just be grateful for what they are and for everything that they do to support me. They carry my whole entire rest of my body on these poor little feet with all these itty bitty teeny tiny bones in here. So take a moment to just look down at your feet and maybe lift your toes up off the floor and spread them as wide as you can without straining anything. And then put them down one at a time, pinky first, back on the floor with as much space as you can contain in this posture. Just spread them out so they can be nice and aerated, get that flow going, and then lift them again, and then just intentionally place them back down in a more natural for you position. Really press into the balls of the feet underneath the toes. And think about from the outer edge of the ball of the foot to the inner edge, just underneath the big toe. Then think about pressing into the heels of the feet. Maybe curl the heels up off the floor and push down into the balls of the feet underneath the toes. And then deliberately place the heels back down on the floor. Press fully into the bottoms of your feet. And if it feels okay for you here, go ahead and close your eyes and see if you can just use your awareness to feel your feet. That might sound a little weird, but this can be very grounding for us. And when we find practices that help us to be grounded, like finding our feet, taking stock of what's around us, maybe having a favorite cup of tea or visiting the ocean or the forest or whatever makes you feel grounded, we actually calm our nervous systems. And when we calm our nervous systems, we take ourselves out of the fight or flight response and into the rest, restore, and heal response. And so if you're getting ready to have surgery, or you've just had surgery, or you have an injury that you're still recuperating from, finding a place where you can heal is really, really important. So let's just get grounded. So focus on the bottoms of your feet, even while you're still holding on to this block between the thighs. Maybe take the palms to the thighs or the knees, or just let them hang loosely by your sides, whatever feels best in your body. Sit up nice and tall, drawing the crown of the head to the sky, even as you press into the feet. Picture creating space in between each and every vertebrae, moving from the base of the spine all the way up to the top of the neck at the base of the skull. Pressing into the bottoms of the feet. Feel the ground underneath each individual toe. Feel the ground underneath the ball of the foot, from the pinky side to the big toe side. Pressing into the heel. Think about the very back of the foot. You might feel your pant leg brushing against the back of your heel. And then think about the outside edge of the feet, all the way from the pinky tip to the back of the heel. And move your awareness from the big toe down the inside of each foot to the back of the heel. Knowing that you're safe where you are, knowing that you are solid where you are, knowing that it is your right to heal and take care of yourself. Let's just take a nice deep breath. Maybe bringing it all the way down into the belly, and then just let it go. Maybe picture the belly, even placing a hand or two over the belly, and think about a water balloon. My mom used to always love to tell my sister and I stories of how her and her sister would fill up water balloons and throw them at cars. And I think this was back like in the 50s or 60s or something like that. Don't do that. That would be terrible and could probably hurt somebody, but back then it was just harmless fun, according to my mom. So picture that water balloon hanging on the faucet, turning on the water and watching it fill up. And imagine that that's what is inside your belly, this big water balloon filling up from the top all the way down into the bottom. And then just take the balloon off the faucet and let all the water, or in this case air, go. So we'll inhale nice and deep down into the belly. And exhale just to let it go. Once again, inhale into the belly, pressing into the feet, engaging the thighs around that block. And exhale to let it go. One more time. And now as you inhale, go ahead and peel the toes up off the floor again. Nice and slow. And as you exhale, place the toes back down. And the next time you inhale, peel the heels up off the floor, coming onto the balls and the toes. And then exhale, rolling the feet back down to the earth. And we'll just do that a few times, inhaling the toes, exhaling down, inhaling the heels up, and exhale, placing them back down. One more time. We're strengthening the ankles here, which will help us to keep the knee nice and stable and supported, and the hips nice and stable and supported. And then let's go ahead and just set the block or your prop aside and just hold on to the chair and lift one foot and just point and flex the heel. And you don't need to lift it very much, just enough to engage that hip and that knee a little bit. If this doesn't feel good, you can keep the foot down and just kind of gently rock the foot back and forth. And then we'll go ahead and move to the other side, lifting as high as feels good to you, and pointing and flexing the foot. And now let's go ahead and come to standing. I'm going to turn the chair around here and knock all my props over in the process. And just holding on to the back of the chair, let's find our feet again. Let's get nice and grounded. Not leaning over onto the chair, but just using it to keep our balance, to keep nice and tall. Sometimes when you're favoring one side, it might be a good idea if you're a doctor or you're a physical therapist, suggest using a cane for a while. So just using this as a little bit of a support can just help balance everything out so you're not now making the other side sore. So don't be afraid to use a cane or a chair or whatever props make it more comfortable for you to be mobile. Find that nice, solid base. Allow the knees to bend softly. Maybe take the shoulders up towards the ears and roll them back and down. Do that a couple times. Rolling the shoulders up and back and down, up and back and down. Now, if standing at the chair is not comfortable for you, just stay seated and we'll do what we can from here. So you could totally roll those shoulders up and back and down from seated. But if you are standing, go ahead and bend the right leg just as high as feels good to you while still keeping the left leg in alignment. So if I turn to the side here, what I don't want to do is bend my right leg and really press into that left hip. I want to keep this left hip nice and square to the chair, or the front of the room in this case, while bending so that I'm not putting undue pressure on this side. And feel free to use the chair for support as much as possible. So we're bending the right leg, we're keeping the left leg nice and grounded, we're finding the sole of that left foot even as we press in. And we're just going to push the bottom of the foot towards the wall behind. Just kind of pulsing, engaging that glute, just the barest little bit. If you've got a hip issue here, you might not even want to pulse. You may want to just stay stationary. But you're still engaging those muscles, you're still strengthening the left leg, you're still creating better balance here for yourself. So there's a lot to be gained just from this. If this isn't comfortable, keep the toes down to the floor. And just use your imagination, your mental awareness to keep that leg engaged. Breathing here, maybe taking those full, big water balloon belly breaths. Either as you keep the toes down, or you've got the leg bent and stationary, or you're creating little pulses. And then when you're done, go ahead and just put that foot down. Maybe shake the left leg out a little bit and then switch sides. So now we're going to press into that right sole of the foot. Either pick the left foot up, bending the knee, keeping the right hip nice and straight and aligned and engaged, or the toes are to the earth, or you're making those little pulses. And it can be bigger pulses if that feels good to you and that's where you are in your recovery. You can definitely make those pulses a little deeper, really engaging the glute. Pressing back with your flexed foot, standing nice and tall, keeping the shoulders down and the chin tucked. Lifting the heart, filling the belly with fresh air. And wherever you are, go ahead and release the left leg down and shake both feet out. Now we're going to get a little bit of movement in the hips themselves. So step back from the chair just a bit. Keep you don't want to be back too terribly far. You still want to be vertical. You don't want to be back like this just yet. Nice and straight, but as far back from the chair as you can be. And you don't have to use the chair for support here if you don't want to, but you surely can. And we're just going to inhale the arms up alongside the ears. Bring the hands down to the heart. And then release the hands either to the chair or to the hips. And just hinge forward at the hips from this little hip crease right here. So we're not hinging from the waist, we're hinging from the hips. Inhaling tall, exhaling to hinge forward. You can keep the hands on the chair or on the hips. You want to keep a nice, tall, straight spine here. And we're just going to continue to deepen the bend, keeping the knees softly bent or even generously bent if that feels good for your body. Or you can come back from the chair a little bit and rest the elbows on the back of the chair and maybe even rest the forehead on the elbows. Still keeping at least a soft bend in the knees, or maybe a generous bend, kind of arching the back a little bit. Listening to your body, finding the most supportive position for yourself here. Taking a couple deep belly breaths. And then we'll begin to go ahead and come out of it, either pressing yourself up from the back of the chair, one hand at a time, and hinging back up with as flat of a back as you can do, or bringing the hands to the hips and coming vertical from here. So let's go ahead and come back to the chair. The key here is we're just wanting to keep our joints mobile while we're in recovery. So don't do this practice if it's painful to you, certainly. But do what you can do as you can do it so that your connective tissue has a chance to heal and move along with the internal scarring that you might have, to strengthen the ligaments and the tendons all around the joints so that you can stand tall and find yourself recovering faster than you might have imagined in the first place. So we'll sit here and find our feet again. You can use the support between the thighs if you like, or you can just stay right here. We're going to bring the hands to the heart and we're just going to get a little gentle twist from side to side. Nothing major because we don't want to hurt those hips. So we'll inhale height here and we're just very gently going to twist over to the right. On the exhale, we'll inhale back to center. Exhale over to the left. Nothing big, we're not pushing or wrenching as we keep moving with the breath. Twisting from the low spine, the low back area, and then back to center. And this time, think about twisting from the ribs, the middle of the back. So rather than twisting from the low back here, we're twisting, just really focusing on movement in the rib cage. From side to side. Inhaling center. Exhaling right. Inhaling center. Exhaling left. And then we come back to center, and this time we're just going to stay with the hands at the heart and look out over the right shoulder and then the left shoulder. Getting a little bit of movement in the neck. And then we'll come back to center, and we'll take the left hand to the left thigh or the outside of the chair. And we're just going to very gently inhale those right fingertips up to the sky and really press into the right sit bone, that right glute. And we're just going to get nice and long here up the right side. And then if it feels good and it does not hurt or cause strain to the hip or the knee here, you can very, very gently hinge over towards the left. But keep grounding down, keep anchoring through that right sit bone, keeping that connection. Keeping the left side lifted and not crunched over. Nice and tall through both sides. Inhaling to stretch up and over. Only as much as feels good to you. And when you're ready to release, exhale, float the right arm down. Inhale, float the left arm up. Same thing on this side, inhaling up and maybe exhaling over just a tiny little bit here. Finding length, making space between the ribs. And when you're ready to come out, we'll inhale the fingertips straight up to the sky and exhale to float them back down. And then we'll get a little flexion, a little cat-cow in the spine here. So let's go ahead and bring the hands back to the heart. And as we inhale, let's lift the heart, open the hands, coming into kind of a cactus arms here, or a W arms. Really drawing those shoulder blades together and down the back. And as we exhale, let's bring the forearms forward, the elbows and the palms toward one another. They may touch in the center, they may come, not very far, depending on the mobility in the shoulders here. But we're kind of rounding forward just in the top of the back. We'll inhale to open the arms, lift the heart, keep the chin tucked. Exhale, bringing those arms forward. Taking the chin down towards the chest, really drawing those elbows toward one another, even if they don't touch. Inhaling to open. Exhaling to bring them together. One more time, inhaling to open. And exhaling to round forward. Last time here. We're going to inhale to open. And exhale to release the hands down. Now let's shrug those shoulders up and down and back. Or up and back and down, I guess is the right way to do it. And then let's come back to that nice deep belly breath. You can have the hands on the thighs or beside you if that feels better. Close your eyes or keep a soft gaze. Find your feet again. Take your awareness down to the bottom of the feet. And then begin to breathe into that water balloon belly, that water balloon belly breath. Inhale to fill up the balloon. And exhale to let it go. Inhale, filling up the balloon, and maybe thinking beyond the belly, expanding that imaginary balloon into the pelvic bowl, maybe all the way out into the hips. So use your imagination and really expand as you inhale here. And exhale to release. Let's find 3 more breaths like that. Inhaling into the belly, the pelvic bowl, the hips. Exhale to let it go. Inhale, filling up that balloon. Bigger balloon, bigger balloon. Fill it a little more. And then exhale to let it go. One more time. And exhale, maybe letting it go out the mouth with a sigh. So while we didn't do a lot of movement here, we did really tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to allow us to heal better, stronger, faster. So we will be hardcore about taking a good rest. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.